Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Miguron Akri, but it's in titanium and has an M390 blade. So I've actually reviewed the budget version of this knife, and there is a much less expensive version of this knife if you like how it looks and you're thinking, I might not like the price tag. Actually, the price for this is pretty good, but yeah, there's a much less expensive version. I will link both versions of this knife right down below in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Miguron for providing this knife for review. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. So since I've already reviewed this design, really the differences here are that it's titanium and M390. I'm going to talk about it here real quick, talk about what I like, what I don't like, but it's going to be a pretty straightforward review. Overall length of the Akri is coming in at 8.35 inches, a little longer than some of you might have expected. Blade length, 3.75 inches, cutting edge, a little over 3.5, about 3.6. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales you see in this section can be found under the in the description under Original Goat and others. So up against the 8010 and the 8020.5, you can see here it's about the same overall, very close to the same overall length as the 8010. It's just nowhere near as robust. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? A little bit longer, honestly, than the PM2, just slightly. Way more cutting edge. Honestly, the blade to handle ratio on this knife is very, very good. How about up against, finally, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action on this knife? It's good. Miguron makes a good knife. Honestly, disengagement is very easy thanks to great access to the lock bar. The action for a front flipper only design is very good. I always prefer that there is at least one other means of deployment if we have a front flipper. But you know, if you're gonna have a knife that is front flipper only, they did this very, very well. This is the type of knife where if you're new to front flippers and you're like, I don't know, this knife is gonna make it a little easier on you. That being said, I do very much wish that this knife either had a flipper or, truthfully, because of this nice position right here for choking up right behind the cutting edge. Honestly, I kind of wish that they had found a way to squeeze in some thumb studs right in here. Maybe just carve this out a little bit more and put a thumb stud in there, because truthfully, there is plenty of room for a thumb stud to be there, clear the frame, and then end up right here out of the cutting path. I think that probably would have been a good move, but it's not there, so you're just left with the front flipper, and honestly, it's very easy to manipulate. Even if you are, you know, left-handed, you can see here I'm right-handed, and I can still manipulate this no problem, but there's no mounting position for a left-handed pocket clip, which is a bummer. Darn it. Sorry, lefties. This is a right-handed only knife. So, unless you just want to deal with it and throw it in your pocket anyway, right? So, action's good. Access to the lock bar is good. Very easy to manipulate. Good, clean action. Everything you'd want. Let's do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Honestly, it's very similar and it's contoured. It's just a long knife. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. A little longer than the Para 3. No, honestly, it's shorter than the PM2, but nowhere near as tall either. Materials. We are looking at titanium and M390. I wish this is one of their S90V models. They've been messing around with S90V for under $200, which this is well under $200. But I wish that it was S90V. It's not. It's M390. They're listing it on their website as 59 to 61, which is about the industry standard, and that's good enough for me. I don't like M390 personally to be under 60. Of course, a lot of that has to do with geometry and what you're using it for, but 59 to 61 is what a lot of other companies are hitting at, and at least their price is very, very fair, which we'll talk about. Weight. Materials, titanium, M390, more titanium for the clip, titanium for the backspacer, and we have some milling on the inside for weight reduction. So the weight on this knife, I'm going to guess it comes in maybe a little over 4 ounces. No, under 3.5 ounces. That's amazing considering you have a 3.75-inch blade. Wow. Very thrown off there. I bet the balance is pretty good too then. Yeah, about right where you'd want it to be. Maybe slightly behind, but really, really good. Honestly, this thing really becomes quite the compact little premium knife. I mean, it's not little. It's actually a pretty big knife. It's just very, very compact. Reminds me of something that Tactile Knife Co. might make. All right. Blade stock thickness. Let's go ahead and measure that here real quick, and then we'll do the hardware check and then get into the meat and potatoes. So the blade stock thickness on this guy is coming in at, I'm going to guess, maybe 135, maybe. Is that what we're looking at? Nope, 120. Let's measure it back here to make sure that we're actually looking at the same thing. It says 122 thousandths. Okay, a little thinner than I thought. Did we weighed it? We need to do the hardware check. I'll get out my tools. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I believe we're just looking at T8 across the board here. T8, lock burn search screw. You're never going to have to take that out. That's T8. Pocket clip screws. Even those are T8. And then we have 2 T8 screws for the frame. That's nice. A lot of people look at this and for some reason get really upset when the lips of the screws hang over a contoured frame. They could machine the titanium to come up and border the screws, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't care. So you might be the type of person where this bothers you. I'm not, but I do agree that it looks better when the titanium comes up to border the screw. So Miguron, take that into consideration. There's a lot of other companies that do that, and I do have some people watching this content who find that to be aesthetically bothersome. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like I personally don't care that much, but it's okay that if you do. Anyways, meat and potatoes time. This is the Akri, but it's just a lot more premium. And honestly, the texturing and the look of the titanium, the look of the blade, yeah, it's all great. Miguron, I wish you guys would get away from the bead blast. And you know what? Maybe continue to offer it as an option, but offer a nice semi-reflective tumbled finish. Offer some coated blades, do some PVD stuff, right? I know you guys can do machined satin, that's fine, but every single knife you guys release is just bead blasted. It would be nice to see something else, right? So this is fine, and honestly, their bead blasting looks good, but it's just, man, I've handled so many Migurons, and it's all the same thing. The machining on the titanium is wonderful. The texturing is awesome. The crowned spine is wonderful. The overall execution, fit, and finish of this knife is very, very good. The ergonomic profile is good. It's just a big, straight handle, right? But it's comfortable, and the edges are knocked down, and it feels like a premium knife. It just feels like a very large office carry knife. But in its folded up form, it is very compact and very easy to carry. This is one of those knives where if you think 3.75 inches of blade, you're like, wow, it's probably a big knife. This becomes compact even more so than like Shiragorov's do, like the F95 or the F3, right? Those are big knives, but when they fold up, they become compact, and they have roughly 3.75 inch blades. This is even more so. So you're able to carry quite a bit of knife without really carrying a lot of knife, if that makes a lot of sense. The cutting edge is, I think it's about medium, right? It's okay. It's not going to be, you're not going to be doing surgery on any grapes, right? But it slices just fine. It cuts just fine. Cutting paper doesn't prove much, but the geometry at the end is kind of medium. And it's not super duper thick. There's just not it's not an aggressive taper. It's not a super tall blade. So what you end up is kind of with something that's kind of middle of the road, but it'll do good enough, right? Getting into packages and making quick cuts or even cutting continuously, you're going to be okay. There's not a huge amount of warning before you accidentally slide up on the blade. There's not much of a guard here, but there is a little sharpening choil, so you might be able to take note of that. But yeah, not really the knife that I would go for if I was going to do a lot of, continuous work. I'm not saying the 8010 is the best choice, but there is a definite guard here. There's something that's keeping your finger well away from that cutting edge, and it's locking you in, versus this knife, probably more for light, quick, medium duty tasks, things like that. I've run my finger. The reason I always make a point to bring that up is because I have scars from doing that. Not actually that was from the Benchmade Contigo, and that was a different situation. But I have run my index finger up on the blade before, and it is obviously not a pleasant feeling. So it's a good overall blade profile. It's a classic drop point blade with a nice swedge, nice tip here, and the edge is absolutely sharpened very, very well. It's very consistent. We don't have wonkiness in the final cutting bevel or anything like that. In fact, nowhere on the knife is there anything that's goofy. I mean, save for like where the titanium doesn't come up to lip or sort of create a parameter around the fasteners. It is a full titanium backspacer, and you have a milled clip, which is very nice, especially considering the price tag. I really like the overall simplicity of this, and it's going to make it very, very easy to maintain, over time. And, the overall fit and finish and just general, the general tolerances. I nicked my knuckle there. I got myself decent. That was an issue of me having my other hand too close to the blade. But, well, darn it. Now I just won't show that again. Now I'm bleeding. But anyways, the overall execution and fit and finish, the general tolerances of this knife are very, very good. If you are not familiar with Miguron, they make a great knife, right? A while back, I kind of questioned their heat treat. Darn it. I'm going to leave this in. I'm not going to cut it out. Just going to have to deal with the sound of me sucking on my knuckle every now and then. But, yeah, the general quality that you can expect from Miguron is very, very good. So, lock bar insert doubling as the over travel stop. That's nice. There is a lanyard hole if you like lanyards. Pocket clip is, again, it's so weird that they didn't decide to make a mounting position on the other side because it's a symmetrical clip, but okay. We have a nice ramp underneath the clip. In and out of the pocket, it's going to be fine. Even though it's riding on texturing, that's still okay. Carry depth is also good. Not shallow, not deep, just kind of right in between. I like the little dressiness they do with the relief cut. Instead of one continuous cut, it's 3 different sections. I think that's fine. Like I said, lock bar stabilizer doubling as the over travel stop or lock bar insert, right? We have a stop pin located in its traditional spot right back here. Not able to use 2 hands at the moment. No shouldering, but that's fine. We have a stop pin that is actually internal, and I think maybe you can see it right there. It is fixed into place, which means it runs. It sits in place. Oh, wait, is it? What am I talking about? The stop pin is located right here. I'm so focused on my knuckle that my brain was like, yeah, there's 2 stop pins. Okay. There's 1 stop pin. The stop pin is located right here in its traditional location. There are bearings on the inside, which we've already talked about. There is no blade play up, down, left, or right. There is no pivot lash. It's very smooth and consistent and has a nice clicky detent. And it's also perfectly centered with no detent lash. This knife is about 175, 176 bucks. Excuse me. I wish it had a thumb stud. I wish Miguron would mess around with some other finish. But truthfully, this is a good knife. If you're looking for a front flipper, the biggest downside to this knife is that it does not have any other means of deployment. Outside of that, though, it is honestly a really nice design. And if you're not looking for any flashiness and you just like a little bit of texturing and you like to kind of have the other boxes checked, right? Then you might really like this. Either way, 175 bucks, 176 bucks, I think that's pretty fair. I cannot complain about that, especially now in 2023 where prices have gone absolutely bazooka bonkers across the board. So this is a recommendable knife. That's just really it. It's nice. And if you know what, if 176 is too much, get the budget version because it's a lot less. Thanks again to Miguron for supplying this knife for review. Like I said, links for this down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.